So my name is Ivy. I am 27 years old. So I was born in Germany. I lived in America for 11 years, and now I'm based in the UK. And I came up with the idea of having open space for basically allowing people from different backgrounds to come on the same platform and share their ideas on topics that might be very uncomfortable to speak up about, but are very needed to.
My name is Melisa. I'm from Germany. My dad is Ethiopian. My mom is German. And I lived here all my life. I'm a singer.
I'll go next. My name is Ashley. I am from America, specifically Chicago, and I'm a student. I come from two Black American parents, and I'm a student. I would like to say I'm somewhat of an activist. I've been doing a lot of work lately, not just in light of everything that's going on, but I think my activism started very early on, and I'm just really tapping into it now. And I'm really excited about this conversation because it's interesting to get other people's perspectives on what it's like in other countries. Because I know in America, sometimes we are in this like bubble and we don't understand that there's, anti-Blackness is global.
My name is Nia. I'm 23. I am from Peoria, Illinois, which is like 2.5 hours away from where Ashley is in Chicago. I'm a clinician, so that's basically working with people that have mental illnesses, and just kind of being their case manager and helping them like through navigate life, basically. I'm also like real interested in the conversation as well because we've been having these dialogues at work, and it's just interesting to get the white point of view on everything. So yeah, I'm just ready to learn from women in other countries and ready to see where the conversation leads us.
Okay, I'm Joy. I'm from Germany, born and raised in Germany. My parents are both from Ghana, and I'm 25 years old, and I'm a student. I study cultural studies and popular music studies, and excited about this talk. I'm excited to see all these beautiful Black women, and yeah, let's see where this goes.
My name's Sky. I'm 22. I'm from the UK. I'm a student as well, and I study English and American literature. I'm very interested in, like feminism and activism and just like discussing Black Lives Matter and racism, especially about racism in the UK. I feel like it's quite specific, but yeah.
So my name is Susana. I'm also based in the UK. Both my parents are from Ghana as well. I currently study psychology with counselling at uni, and I'm excited to be part of this open space, just to hear other people's experiences and sort of like talk about things with people who I know will understand and get where I'm coming from.
So my name is Kim. I'm 21 years old. I'm from Germany. I was born in Germany, then I lived in the UK when I was a toddler. And my mom was in the British Army, so they sent us back to Germany and was living here ever since. And yes, I'm a student as well. And I'm excited to hear about what everyone has to say, like how they experience racism in their own country or in their environment.
Yeah, I'll go next, Alison. I'm from the UK as well, London, and I'm 22 years old. I study fashion design, and my mum is from Jamaica and my dad's from Trinidad, and everyone thinks I'm mixed race, but I'm actually Black. I'm the lightest in my family, so it's very interesting. Like, I get the whole colorism aspect, and I've also got an Indian boyfriend, so I'm very pro-Black and trying to, Black comes in beautiful shades, so I'm here to support that, and I'm pro-female speaking out about their issues and stuff. I'm glad that we're all girls here, actually, to be honest. I feel like sometimes men like to talk above the women, but yeah, I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say.
My name is Nemin. I am based in Chicago, Illinois. I was born in Ghana. I've lived in America forever. I'm currently a grad student, as well as I work in finance and technology. I joined this conversation because I'm really interested to hear about, obviously, the different variations of racism in other countries, but also how other people are taking control of it, how it's affecting other people, how they're able to rise above it and things like that. I definitely want this conversation to be uplifting as well as educational. And yeah.
Thank you. Ernestina?
Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Ernestina. You can call me Ernie. I'm from Germany, Hamburg to be specific. I'm studying online marketing. I'm actually from Ghana. Yeah, I forgot about that part. Yeah, what else?
Okay, cool. So now that everyone has introduced themselves, so the first question in general is, what does Black Lives Matter mean to you? You know, as in general, what does it mean to you? Have you been partaking in the protesting and the marching? And let's just see how it goes from there. Who wants to start off?
I'll start. I have participated in one of the protests. There was a protest in the city that I went to college in. So I went ahead and went to that protest. They were promoting that it was peaceful. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll go. That was probably like my second or third protest that I have been to since like in college and then post-college. For me, it was pretty much life-changing again because I went to college in Edwardsville, Illinois. So that's super small, all white people. It's just nowhere that I would have ever expected to get on board with the Black Lives Matter movement. For me, the Black Lives Matter movement, like, it's extremely powerful. I feel like when Mike Brown died and it was getting kicked off, and then every death since, it's just getting more and more stronger. I think that now they have more of a concrete plan and list of demands and everything that they want to come of the movement. So I definitely think that it's going in the right direction. We're kind of worried about like the rioting and the looting and just how everything was turning more violent. So I was getting like a lot of opinions about that. And I'm just like, for people that are concerned about the rioting and looting, you're telling me that, oh, I'm more concerned about merchandise than a life, and a Black one at that. So for me, it's just like, why are you're not focused on what's causing these people to be so upset? And I think that that is one of the biggest flaws with the outside world that doesn't experience it, or the outside world that doesn't want to actually learn what's happening. I think that a lot can change through the movement. I don't think painting Black Lives Matter on the street is beneficial at this point, but it's raising more awareness. It's forcing people to have these conversations, because as we stood outside of the courthouse in Edwardsville, that's the main street. So it's white people with their kids in the back seat. It's people out going to get drinks and going about their merry way. But it's like, you see these signs, you hear our voices, now go educate yourself. And so for me, it was the location that was selected was so powerful, because now I know that these kids are asking, Mommy, why do they have these signs saying Black Lives Matter? Mommy, what's going on? Now you have to have these conversations. So I feel like we are not only targeting our counterparts, but the next generation. So I do think that change will come from it.
Okay. Nemin, do you feel the same way?
I have to agree. I definitely think that this is going to be a generational change at some point. As far as the looting portion of it, I know that I've had conversations at work and like with other people, and there's always a conversation of, oh, why are they looting? Why are they destroying their own neighborhoods? Like, Black people are just ridiculous. What they're doing doesn't make any sense. They're not really affecting change. They're just trying to take an opportunity to, to steal or to get things for free. And they're using this as their way to do so. And when I hear things like that, I kind of have to like reference the history, right? When you have a good understanding of where you come from, or how things have gotten to this point, you have better ways of, like, I guess, battling that conversation, right? What happened to all those Black-owned companies that were looted by white people? What happened to all those people that were raped and pillaged? What happened to Black Wall Street that was burned down? What happened to all these sanctities that Black people took their time and energy to create, that was torn down and messed up by people not in their culture, not a part of their race, and there were no repercussions to it? And if we really pay attention to the things that we've asked for up to date, let's really, like, how much of the things that we've really truly asked for, and that's led to us marching and having this movement, have really been answered or accommodated? If anything, people are wearing kente cloth, and they're kneeling down, and they're putting their fists up, and you have company people telling you how much they stand with you and how much they support you. But are they literally fiscally showing us their support? Are they arresting the people that harm us? Or are they physically showing us their support? Are they doing any of the things that we've legitimately asked for to show us concrete change? And I think that's what we need to our little siblings and our children to see. We need them to see like, hey, this is how you go to ask for change, but don't get diluted or don't get confused on that journey when you see people doing a little bit of something to appease you. Make sure you keep asking for what it is that you need. So that would be my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I've been seeing a lot of performative things occur with this movement that is very disdaining, because in a lot of ways I see the Black Lives Matter movement being co-opted. And when I was going on the protests, I noticed that, because I actually went to one in Chicago, one of the first ones that occurred. And a lot of the looting and the troublemakers, they weren't Black people. They were white people doing a lot of these things that we're talking about. And it just brings up another conversation of like how we look at Black people. Nahisi Coates, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's a writer, and he said anti-Blackness is the thoughts or the idea that something is wrong with Black people. And that's where it's been like at large. It's like this belief that something is wrong with us and that we need to be fixed. We need to be treated as such. We don't understand. And that's what I've been seeing with the reactions towards these protests and the looting that's occurring. And also, like you said, Nia, we're putting Black lives, we're putting merchandise over Black lives, and we're putting finances, and we're putting the economy. We're seeing it today, even with the pandemic, not only Black lives, but just lives in general. The fact that, these cities are reopening, these states are reopening, we're putting finances in our economy over life. And we're seeing it time and time again, but it's even more detrimental when those lives are Black, because we are more vulnerable to this disease, right? We're more vulnerable in general because there's this belief that something's wrong with us, and there's this anti-Blackness that we have to combat. So it's like a double whammy, it's a double-edged sword navigating as a Black person. And it's interesting also that, now Black Lives Matter has become something that's only putting the spotlight on a certain type of Black person, when really the founders of Black Lives Matter were women. And specifically, one of them is a queer woman. And, we have to keep reminding people that all Black lives matter. There isn't a special package of what a Black life matters. It's all of them. And it's crazy that, it's being co-opted now. And like you said, the streets are being painted, and, we're getting these statements and we're doing these things, but not actually getting real change. And we all need to become on the same page as well, because I've noticed that a lot of Black people have different views on the ways in which we're doing these things. Some Black people, they like that performative allyship. They like when people kneel, and they like that. They see it as something good, but it's not. And I think that's another thing too. We just need to get on the same page.
I have a quick question. So I know that we all have this understanding of systemic racism within the United States, right? We pretty much know that the Black neighborhoods are being pillaged. There's no resources. There's, these food deserts, all those good things happening. Is that the same type of idea in Germany or in London or in the UK in general?
Germany is very ignorant with it. Like everyone just acts like it just does not exist at all. I feel like it seems like in the States they can't ignore it no more, but in Germany it's like they can still, put it under the rag and act like it's not there. But if you talk to any Black person that was born and raised in Germany, they can tell you the majority of stories about what they have experienced that is systemic racism, and that is not just something that, is a misunderstanding or something like that. But for example, education wise, in general, there's not many differences in ways where you have mainly Black people in this type of school, or like mainly white people in this type of school. I feel like it feels more mixed, but I also have to say that the city that I'm from is in northern Germany, and I know that in northern Germany things are a little less intense than they are in certain eastern parts of Germany, southeast.
Just to add on, I personally feel like in Germany, I feel like they generally do not know that they are being racist. They generally feel like they're admiring you. They think that your skin is beautiful, so they can come and pet you, but they don't necessarily have hard feelings with it. But from a Black person's perspective, it's just like, why are you petting me? But I generally feel like in America, it's very in your face, while in Germany, it's more, they're not aware. And in the UK, I personally feel like they're trying to put it under the rug. So that's how I personally see it, being raised in all three places. I just felt like personally in America was just like in your face, and we see it on social media, on the internet, on TV, and in Germany it's not like that, but it's there. Like if you look at it closely, you will see it. If you're like awake, that you be able to
I
notice.
think it depends on how old these people are, because there are also people who are actively and on purpose racist. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like less of a situation where everyone is trying to do you good. I think there are cities where it's normal for Black people to be spit at. Does that
I
make
have
sense?
personally not experienced that, but I heard
Like,
that's more in the south, right? Like
yeah.
southeast of Germany, but like not where I am from, because I feel like in
Mhm.
Hamburg in particular, it's very diverse. It's very the Black community is very, very big, especially the Ghanaian community in Hamburg. So I personally have not experienced getting spit at, but I personally have experienced a lot of more racism in the UK and in America. Like if I were to be quite honest, I've experienced in Germany as well, but I feel like in Germany it's just more like they don't mean it. But if
It's more
I don't say
subtle.
yeah, it's a bit subtle, but the thing is like if I don't say nothing to that person, the next person might suffer again. So when somebody does do it to me, I let them know.
Big thing in Germany is that we're so far behind when it comes to education about racism. So it's like it's not that they talk about it in a certain way, they just don't talk about it at all. So it's like Black people aren't even part of Germany's history, even though they are. So I think that's a problem that kind of makes it possible for people to even ignore certain things that are happening. And I heard this this German author, she said this thing about how we're being taught that racists are people who kill people, who are genuinely bad people. But the problem is that racists aren't just bad people. Racists are everywhere. And because we are taught to hate those people, when you talk to a white person and tell them that, oh, this was racist or this was bad, they get attacked because they think you associate them with someone who would actually go ahead and kill you because you're Black. But that's not the case. And it's so hard to explain this to them. So we start at a different point of understanding when we try to talk to them about racism in general. So you start talking and they don't understand that systemic racism is a thing. You have to actually explain systemic racism to them before they understand what it is. Then they have to go back home, read upon it, and then they might understand. And that's when you can continue the conversation, which is why it's so hard to talk to anyone about it unless you know, okay, this person knows what systemic racism is and this is a problem that we face. Unless you know that, you might as well not talk to them, because it's like a whole, like you're the educator now and you don't want to do that your whole life. And that's basically what you have to do if you want everyone in Germany to actually understand.
So I'm from the northwest in Germany, and we have the largest number of immigrants in Germany. So there's a lot of Black people, especially Ghanaians as well again. Well, where I lived, there was a lot of Middle Eastern people, and there were like certain areas where like Black people used to live, and then other areas where like white people used to live. And that was like very weird to me to see, because I was like, what's going on? Why is everyone splitting up? But if you think about it, like even that is like, because if you think about when you come to a new country, like example Germany, and you have to learn the language and you have to find a new job and everything, so you get support from the government, and the flats that you get from the government are basically cheaper, and they just put all immigrants in one place. And then later on, like generations after that, the people will still associate this place with like Middle Eastern people or with Black people or with whatever. And the white people are not even in contact with anyone that's from another country. So when you come to school and then it's like the first time they meet someone like you, they're like very interested in everything, and they're like, oh, your skin color, why is it that brown? And why is your hair like this? And why is this and this and that? And they have a bunch of questions that you never asked yourself because you were born like that. You're like, I don't know. I don't want my hair's curly like that. It has been like that my whole life. you have never thought about things like that. I never thought about why is a white person's hair straight. Like, this
Why are you
question
black?
never came to my mind. I feel like you have to be in certain circles to like know stuff about other people.
How's it like in the UK for you guys?
I think that here in the UK, a lot of people like to make it seem as though racism for us here is not as like prevalent as it is in the USA. I think they like to believe that we've made more progress with racism here than they have in the USA. So like us protesting here, and there still are protests going on here, I think that they sort of, a lot of white people look at us as though we're making issues in the USA our issues here. And so they sort of are like confused as to what's going on, or confused as to why we are protesting here in this country for, a death that happened over in the USA. But I definitely feel as though systematic racism is a bit more covert here and a bit more decorated, but it still definitely does exist. So yeah.
I think another thing that you have to remember is that, BBC or CNN is monitored by the United Kingdom. So they basically decide what the world sees. So if you're personally not in the country, like for instance in the UK, you do not mainly hear those things. Like nowadays that we have social media, people share a lot more. So now there is a lot more,
like coverage.
I think a lot more coverage. So now that people are like seeing it a bit more, but I know that racism or like the Black slave trade movement in America, it started in the United Kingdom. So technically, the UK are the founding fathers of racism, because they're the ones that started it. And in the UK, they just know how to hide a bit more because they think that they've changed. They're a bit more liberal now. It's 2020. It's in the past. And I tend to tell a lot of people over here, get over it. It was 400 years ago.
Yes.
How can we get over it if you still see it, but it's just shaped and packaged very differently? But the next thing I have for you guys is, how do you guys feel about the Black movement from a woman's perspective? Do you feel like women, like the women in society, like this Breonna Taylor, do you feel like she's getting enough coverage? Or do you feel like the movement is more focused on men?
So for me, like, okay, the George Floyd situation happened and it was devastating. And it was like the world was devastated. And then Breonna Taylor happened and I couldn't sleep. Like anybody that's like in my close circle, they know like I love being at home. I love going to bed. Like my bed is like my sanctuary. That's my happy place. And like every time I would get in my bed, I would just think of her, because it's like, here you are, you just got off work, you then came home, your man then came over, y'all laying down, y'all in the bed, and then you're awakened with gunfire. Like, that does not sit right with me, because it's like, no matter how many times it's like, okay, don't get pulled over, be a law-abiding citizen, stay out of the police way, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, at this point, y'all just targeting houses now. Like y'all breaking into houses to kill people. And then to hear the whole story unfold, not only did you have the wrong house, but you knew that you had the wrong house. And furthermore, you were granted a no-knock warrant. That doesn't sit right with me. And so it's like, when everything happened with George Floyd, the whole world erupted. So many riots, so many protests, so many marches, so many Twitter videos and Facebook videos, all of this stuff. And it's like everybody's silent on Breonna Taylor. Everybody want to make a damn TikTok video with it. Why is her captions, it's arrest Breonna Taylor degrees outside? Why are we making a joke of it? I don't really understand the comedy in it. And for me, it's so disheartening, because it's like you said, Black women are always on the front lines. Like literally the protest I went to, it was women. And then you may see a man, he may be Black. Like, no, we are the face of pretty much everything at this point. And we do not get the respect that we deserve. And it's like when George Floyd died, famous people, basically comedians, athletes, everybody, y'all making visual videos with, your heartbreak or your devastation, or, that's so terrible, blah, blah, blah. But with Breonna Taylor, is just arrest the cops that murdered Breonna Taylor. She's a hashtag. We are so much more than hashtags. Like, I really don't understand what the disconnect is. And then it's like you have Breonna Taylor being murdered. Then you have another video within like the next week of some Black men throwing another woman into the trash, a Black woman into the trash in the dumpster. And they're laughing and they're recording her. They're making jokes about it. Why do we have this outpour love and respect for Black men, but we do not get it in return?
Do you feel like, is it because we are not exotic, as 50 Cent said?
He's an idiot. And it's like, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around the fact that you were created and conceived by a Black mother. You have no respect for your Black counterpart women. Like, and I have 3 brothers. So it's like, I grew up protected. It was like, you know, she is ours. That's it. That's all. No boys, no nothing. Stay in the house. So I know what it feels like to be protected by Black men. But then when you step out into your community or you go away for college and you're not with your siblings, then what? So I don't really understand what it is that we do wrong to not have that respect.
Ernestina, what do you think of that?
I don't want to speak in general, but I think it's pure self-hate, because how can you come from a Black woman and then turn around and say, like, I don't date Black women because they're too, let me say, loud or whatever. To be honest, like, I'm sick and tired of hearing certain things like that. And most of the time, if I'm in conversations like that, I would love to speak with someone who is educated enough, reflected himself, and all kinds of areas in life to have an opinion that is based on common sense. Yeah, that's what I'm about. So when it comes to Black guys, I don't know, like George Floyd was a hashtag. He was, I don't know, he was just everywhere, even in Germany. And if you speak about Breonna Taylor, if you ask Germans, I'm not too sure that they even know about her. So I think the question is like, we really have to think about it, because I don't even like to say, okay, this whole Black Matters thing is now, do Black women even matter? But it's a topic that we need to talk about.
Alison, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think it's obviously like based on experiences, right? And I grew up with the most amazing mother. Like, she taught me so much about myself and about my history. So I always like grew up aware, and I used to always tell my friends about, you know, don't say this, don't say that, don't do this. And even one of my friends, she's white, and she used to say, all my Black friends have never told me not to say certain things. You're the only one that's like told me to do this or do that. And like, I was always shocked. I was like, come on, why is that not happening? And in the case of if we're not being regarded, I think, just to be the devil's advocate, I think the fact that his was filmed and Breonna Taylor's wasn't, I think that's like a major factor, like, if you like it or not. I know it's bad to say, but I think that's a major factor. And also I think that obviously we're seen as aggressive. And so if we're not aggressive and we're timid, then obviously they don't listen to us. But if we're aggressive, then you're being aggressive. So it's like a lose-lose situation. Share our opinion without being judged, because we're always going to get judged. Like, even something that happened to me, I was attacked on the underground, and it was filmed, obviously, because in the underground, there's cameras everywhere. And I went to the police about it and thinking that it's filmed. Everyone's going to, you know, support me. I'm going to like win any case I put up. And they literally disregarded, saying that we can't do anything to help you. As a woman, I was thinking, I don't know, a woman was talking to me about it as well. I was talking to a woman asking, can you help me? And she couldn't help me.
I definitely feel like it's...
You saw that?
I'm there.
Yeah, it's like it works for us, and then it also works against us, because it's like you get the stereotype of being the angry Black woman, or you get the stereotype of, oh, she always has an attitude, or oh, she's always so negative. And it's like, well, I'm not angry, for one. I'm passionate about what it is that we're discussing. And two, it's like, why do you immediately go to anger, into negative connotations, instead of, oh, wow, she's actually advocating for herself. You know, her claims are serious. And so for me, it's very frustrating to hear that you were like, I went to the police because I knew it was recorded. So you felt some type of safety net within that. But it's like, you get there and they just close the door in your face, basically. But white women can lie to the police about whatever's going on. They send however many police officers that they want to rectify the situation, when in reality she's lying, and there's no penalty, there's no nothing for it. You can just simply call and make a false report. So it's like, at some point, when is my Black woman's voice enough?
To piggyback on that, you also said that, in the case that Breonna Taylor's killing was actually recorded, maybe there would be some justice or some more action towards it. We would think so, but in the same token, your own experience, even though there was a recording, they didn't even want to do the due diligence to look into it. So I would argue, yeah, George Floyd was recorded. Elijah McClain was probably recorded. A ton of people were recorded. But I guess it depends on what your definition of justice is. Is justice having the public know about it and being in an uproar? Or is justice actually getting the people that have done something wrong to pay for what they've done, to serve time, to essentially go to jail and understand that, hey, what you've done is not okay? Because at the end of the day, how it's starting to look is every other day or every other week, we hear about a new Black person being killed. Let's call a spade a spade. We're seeing people being lynched in the South. We're seeing people being shot by police officers. We're seeing white people on trucks shooting people that are just going on jogs. At this point, we've let the public know that Black lives truly don't matter. And if you do mess around and kill a Black person, okay, they're gonna march, they're gonna yell, they're gonna be upset. But guess what? You're gonna go home to your bed when it's all said and done. Like, even with the Breonna Taylor hashtag, I saw a hashtag that came out that was like, you know what? We need to stop saying arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. We need to start recognizing them with their names. Just like we say her name, we need to start saying their names, because they're allowed to walk around. I don't know that if I saw the police officer that killed George Floyd right now, if I'd be like, oh, that's you. Or I'd even like be able to recognize this person. We're not blasting them as much as we need to. And I think that needs to be a part of this movement as well. Start holding people accountable. If they're not willing to put them in jail and hold them accountable, well, we as a society need to start doing so. And we're not just gonna do it in the US, we're gonna do it everywhere because it's affecting everyone.
I think with the whole Black Matters movement, I think it's different for everyone. Like, at first, it was clearly police brutality, but I think it just manifests into so many different things. Like, a lot of people, obviously in my industry, fashion industry, well, no, actually, let's say music, they were doing their own thing. Footballers, they're doing their own thing. And I think they just made it into not just police brutality is about this, like how many Black companies, how many Black people in your business, or how many, how many Black people represented in sports and fashion, and it's like blown into more than just police brutality. So I think, I don't know, it depends on where you're directing it towards. So maybe with the whole Breonna Taylor thing, because other people are doing other things within there, she deserves justice, of course. But I'm saying, obviously, we have English things that we're going to try and deal with. In USA, they're dealing with other things with Germany. Like, all around the world, there's just so many topics that's opened up because of this movement that I think some things are beginning to die down and other things are beginning to rise up. And it's just become so big that it's hard to direct it all to one thing.
I personally don't even really like to talk about are Black females getting less recognition than Black males, because I feel like within this whole Black Lives Matter debate anyways, we're seeing a lot of union, but we are still lacking that unity. So creating that discussion about women versus males is sort of just adding to the division furthermore. But definitely, I still do believe that the females are not as we're not as supported, in cases of police brutality and things like that, because we've even had our own issues over here in the UK of things that have happened to Black women and Black females, and still not seen any justice with those. Any of you guys in USA or in Germany have heard of Belly Majinga or Shukri Abdi, two different cases that have happened here recently, and we still haven't seen any justice here. We're still marching and we're still protesting for them. And again, they just seem like another hashtag.
This debate with some of my guy friends before, and we were kind of talking about their LGBTQ element of Black Lives Matter, and the one thing that they was bringing up they were kind of saying, oh, well, it's not like a gay rights movement and it's taken away from the thing and we don't need to divide ourselves. It's just about being Black. But what I feel like the point that is so like important that we need to understand is that Black Lives Matter is a movement, but it's a statement. So, and it's like, it's not just for Black men. There's no description that says, oh, by the way, Black Lives Matter, and we're just talking about Black men. I don't think it's dividing anything. I feel like it's opening room up for discussion. So, for example, today we've come here to discuss, these are the types of situations where, you know, we should be talking about all the different like sectors within the Black community and how people are like, certain type of people are like more vulnerable and like underappreciated. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but you know, I feel like when we discuss like Black Lives Matter, we talk about, you know, racism. I do feel like it's straight Black men that we're talking about the majority of the time, and I feel like there's different people experience racism differently.
I don't know. This is the first time I've ever heard that there's apparently a divide between Black women and Black men. I'm not gonna lie, but one reason maybe I think it could be is that we don't really get our stories told. I've heard so much about these Black sportsmen opening up because my boyfriend likes sports, and I've heard a lot of stories like that, and like people like the actor John
Boyega.
Yeah, sorry, thanks. And other stories, and obviously George Floyd and stuff like that, and they're on TV and they get a chance. Even what's it, George the poet? He was on TV. They were able to share their story. Obviously, social media is one of the biggest outlets, isn't it? And the news and all that kind of stuff. And they're able to talk about it. I haven't seen a woman talk about it on any kind of platform. Maybe like this or like on Instagram, but on like a major news anchor or in sports, even like, yeah, I just haven't heard it anywhere. So I think maybe that's one of the reasons we don't have the opportunity to have our stories told.
Yeah.
Like that.
Ashley, what do you think? Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that intersections and differences aren't the same thing. Like an intersection doesn't mean that I'm trying to divide myself from the Black community as a whole. Because just like what Sky said, like Black Lives Matter isn't a movement. It's a statement. It should be a statement more so than a movement. So there shouldn't be a specific thing that we're trying to focus on. If we defer or deter from it, it's creating division. If anything, it's shedding a light. And you know, the way I'm packaged, we keep using this word, and I actually like the term, like the way I'm packaged and the way, even as Black women, we're all Black women, and there's going to be some differences. Like that's how we get into the whole colorism thing, right? Like there isn't one way to look at a Black person. And I think that's where stereotypes come from too, because we look at a Black person and we get these perceptions about them because they're Black, and then that's just it.
About the
I'm a
filming
human,
thing,
I'm a
it was
person.
like
I
at
have
some
other
point
things
we
and
were
qualities about
desensitized.
myself that
Like
that makes me different.
It was happening so frequently that like I literally stopped watching the videos because I'm like, I can't keep putting myself through this. So like what she was saying, like, why do we have to keep filming these? Like these, we're literally watching people take their last breath. That's sickening. Like, and then for it to be recorded and then nothing comes of it, because at a certain point, the Trayvon situation was recorded. Like we got the audio, we saw a little bit of it, like nothing came of it. And so it's just like, I'm not with the whole, well, let's record them being murdered. Like it makes my stomach hurt. So if that's the way that we need justice, I don't want.
It should just stop.
Can I say something about the filming?
Yes.
Hello? Oh, sorry, okay. With what I was talking about, I'm not saying like obviously it has to be filmed. I think we're all a certain age group and we believe in each other. Obviously, I've been to one of the marches, and I came across an older woman, and even before I got a chance to speak, she was just like, "Well, you're young, you don't understand." And so I think when I think about the recording, I'm just here because it's definite proof. So no matter what age I am, no matter how I look, you know, you can't disregard what I have to say because it's here in broad daylight. And I think with the filming thing is for the older people to understand that we're not lying when we say this stuff. You know, your generation was like this, and here it is in plain daylight. Like our generation is like this, here it is in plain daylight, rather than having books that are altered to fit. Filming is definite, and I think that's why I know like people are going out of control sometimes with this whole filming. Oh, she said I'm an idiot, you know, because I'm black and all that stuff. But I think why I trust in it more than maybe I shouldn't trust in it so much, but I think it's because it's like solid proof, and I think that's the only reason why I think it's got quite a lot of weight to it.
I
think
feel like that's, oh, sorry, go on.
I think the thing that scares me the most about filming is after the Mike Brown situation in Ferguson, there were a bunch of protests like we're seeing now. And, you know, people were taking photos, they were recording the protests, all of these things. And like, I was recording different activist speeches. A lot of those people came up murdered, like very suspicious deaths. Like one of the guys was found in the back of his mother's home, hung, pants down, and his fists were balled. It was like he died by suicide. That didn't happen. So what really happened? Another, and this lady, she was older, like she was found killed as well. Somebody else was found killed in their car. Like, that's why everybody was saying, you know, like, yes, record the protest, but don't show faces, because you're putting people's lives at stake. And at a certain point too, people that were at protests, I know one of the ones that happened in St. Louis during this time, they were like, oh, due to the property damage, we're going to use cameras and zoom in, and we're pressing charges and all of this stuff. And it's just like, they're getting so sidetracked with everything that it's like literally participating in peaceful protests, marches, or what, being a bystander is putting a target on your back. So that's why I think it really deters me from the filming.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was crazy. Actually, I can relate to this in a way. Now, of course, I can't relate to like violence and like people, you know, threatening to kill me or trying to, but I led a protest at my school last October. And when we first did it, we weren't speaking about, like, they were asking us for statements, and I wasn't comfortable giving statements, but it ended up coming out that like I was one of the leaders, and actually the school newspaper, like, they targeted me, and they tried to get information on like my grades, and like they tried to find information about like my background, like my criminal history, or anything, like just anything they could find about me. And one of the dean of students called me personally. He's Black, and he was just like, I just want to give you a heads up that the vedette is actually like trying to pursue information about you because of in response to the protest. And like, that's violence, you know, like we are literally, in order to prove that we not crazy, we have to record it, but then we're putting our bodies at stake because of it, because nobody wants to believe Black people. Nobody wants to believe that the things that we're saying are true, even in our own, like, and that's the thing that scares me the most too, because also during this protest, a lot of alumni, specifically Black alumni, were reaching out to me, and they were saying like, is this really what happened? Like, is did this really happen? Not my ISU. And I'm just like, what? Okay. So even as another Black person, you don't even believe me. I have to show concrete evidence. And that's the thing that scares me the most about really just being Black in general. Like, you have
a lot of hate and amongst us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like anti-Blackness can be perpetuated by anyone. And that's why we always put this lens on white people. Like, anti-Blackness is anti-Blackness. No matter who's the one package that is perpetuating that anti-Blackness, it is going to be perpetuated. It can be perpetuated by anyone. And that's the thing that makes it so scary, because we are
part of it as well. Like, do you think because of colorism, because the darker you are, the lighter you are, you feel it?
Yeah, it's just multifaceted. It's just it's everything, and that's a thing too, especially with that whole 50 Cent thing that he talking about, like with the whole exotic and like Black people, basically a Black woman isn't good enough for him to have kids with and be in a relationship with. It's just, it's self-hate, but that is stemmed from this subconscious notion that is something wrong with us, and we can believe it too as Black people. So